Hey YouTube, welcome to a history of / behind the meta where I go over the history of Pokemon in GBL and talk about why they were once strong and are not strong anymore, or their place in the meta over the 16 seasons of GBL that we've had so far. And a quest I had was Politoed, and like the title says, for those of you who do not know, Politoed was the best Poliwrath, Poliwag, best Poliwhirl evolution you could use at the time. So if you had a Poliwhirl and you can go into Poliwrath or you can go to Politoed, 9 out of 10 times you chose Politoed because Politoed was a very, very strong Pokemon. And then something happened. I'll tell you what happened and I'll explain why it happened. That makes this Pokemon basically irrelevant. It's nowhere near the top of any list. And with other waters like Poliwrath and all the Mud Boys, it's basically unusable unless all of them get banned. Then maybe you would use it in very limited cups. So let's go over the stat products and the typings and all the ins and outs of why, what makes it good, what makes it bad, and then I'll talk about the history of it and how it was so strong and why, and then I will go into what happened to it. So Politoed is currently ranked 156. 156 is not, again, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not like it's at 400 right now. So 156 is not bad, but it's not good when you look at a meta that is otherwise dominated by water, right? So if you put in water Pokemon, here are your water Pokemon that are in the top 30. Feraligatr, Quagsire, Swampert, Lantern, Azumarill, Mantine, Whiscash, Empoleon, Pelipper. And then you get into Toxapex, you get into Jellicent, you get into Poliwrath. Shadow Politoed is at 70. Oh, we forgot Greninja, but Shadow Politoed is at 90. But if you don't have a Shadow, you're now down below Dugong and Walrein, and even Marshtop and Samurott, right? So even Rainy Castform. So you are low on this list. So why? So stat product wise, not bad at all. 114 attack, 121 defense, 140 stamina. So kind of a overall balanced Pokemon. A little more of the sort of defensive heavy compared to that of attack. 115 attack is not that high. I mean, it's not as low as something like the Azumarill or Medi or anything, but it's pretty low when you compare to like the average of some of these other Pokemon. But has like 140 stamina, as you can see by the traits. It is pretty bulky. You have moveset, which is pretty nice. The really only moveset you use is Mudshot though. You can use Bubble, kind of useless overall when you have Mudshot, and Mudshot is your super fast energy generating charge move, 4.5 energy per turn. So one Mudshot gives you 9 energy. Your moveset currently, your recommended moveset is Weather Ball, 35 energy, 66 damage when you get that same type attack bonus for 1.89. You do have access to Scald. You have access to Surf. But again, so you could use Scald at 50 energy, but like just having the spammy 35 energy is pretty nice. And then your second move, everyone used to run it with Ice Beam, but now it got access to Earthquake during a community day. I'm pretty sure it was a community day move. So Earthquake, really nice coverage move, coverage nuke, 65 energy for 110 damage, 1.69 damage per energy. So in terms of the moveset, and the moveset's actual reason that it actually dropped so much because Weather Ball got nerfed, and I'll go over that in a minute here. But in terms of moveset, you have one of the best fast moves in the game. And I think your charge moves, you struggle for a couple reasons. You could go Scald. I would actually be interested to see it run with Scald. But in terms of like stat product and stuff like that, you probably pale in comparison to some of like the Poliwrath and Whiscash and stuff. So if you're going to have the same fast move and same charge move there, you might as well do it on a Pokemon with overall better stat products and typing. We'll talk about typing in 1 second. And then Earthquake, the problem with this is very, very nice coverage move. Two things here. One, Ice Beam would still be better if you're running against, like, if you want an answer for like Altaria. It's you still get the same issues of like Whiscash, where you have a ground and water move. You have nothing for like Altaria, Flyer, stuff like that. And the second thing is, unlike Whiscash, which is half ground and gets same type attack bonus on theirs, you are not. You are pure water. You do not get same type attack bonus. So your damage per energy is only 1.69 with that. and same with Ice Beam. You don't get same type attack bonus with that. So you have the water move, which is okay. I'll talk about how that got nerfed in a second. You can even go Scald. But your second move is really where you're lacking. You either go Ice Beam. So these are like way higher energy, 55 energy, 65 energy for Earthquake, non-stab. So when you're that high energy at 55, 65, you don't want your damage per energy at 1.6, 1.69. Like you need to be, if you're at a 55 energy move, you need to be way closer to like 1.8, 1.9 to be actually efficient. So your second charge move is one of your biggest issues for Poliwrath. The second issue is, it's not a huge issue, but it's an issue in the fact of the Mud Boys benefit from this a little more than you do. The Mud Boys, with that secondary ground typing, Whiscash, Quagsire, Swampert, only have a grass weakness, right? So you have 4 resistances and 2 weaknesses, grass and electric, whereas something like Swampert has 1 weakness. It's a double weakness, but it's only 1 weakness and 5 resistances, right? So 1 more resistance, 1 less weakness with the Mud Boys. So your typing, just being a pure water, is kind of hinders you. As Politoed. Again, there's not a ton of electric in Great League, so the grass and electric weakness, having those is actually not the worst. But then your resistances are water, steel, ice, and fire, which again, there's a lot of water, but there's not a lot of those others, right? Yes, I guess now Skarmy has Steel Wing. But again, you're going to have trouble against Skarmy with your Mud Shot Weather Ball anyways. You're going to lose because of the Brave Bird and stuff. So you're going to lose that matchup anyways. Just not having access to like any other real resistances that help here, like not having that poison resistance that the Mud Boys get, like stuff like that really does add up. So in terms of traits, bulky, yeah, like I said, that product makes it a little bulkier. Spammy, Mud Shot, Weather Ball, super fast energy generating, super low energy move, and then shield pressure. Yes, you could theoretically add up a lot of pressure on because of these like rapid attacks, right? You're throwing Weather Ball. Look at that count, 4, 4, 4, 4. So when you do 4 Mud Shots and a Weather Ball's coming your way, yes, it's a little lowered, but it comes fast. So what happened? How did Politoed become one from like a OP second fiddle to Swampert? It was really, you see this water list? This was before Feraligatr, Quagsire, Lantern, Azumarill was there, Mantine, Whiscash, Toxapex, Jellicent. Before these were all around. It was truly Swampert, Azumarill, Pelipper, Politoed. Those were your 4 water Pokemon that you used in the Open Great League. And what happened? Weather Ball got nerfed. And this was a direct attack on Pelipper. So Pelipper, at a time, was there's been a lot of OG save swaps. Pelipper was an OG save swap. Lantern wasn't around. There's barely no electric around. Like even the Mytoki Damar that I used around was not around. So Pelipper, weak to electric, was pretty much unchecked. Like Pelipper has some other weaknesses, rock, but again, Bastiodon wasn't even a real thing back in the day, especially XL, and Carbink and all them not around. So your 2 weaknesses were basically not there. You have 6 resistances: double resist ground, single resist water, steel, fire, fighting, and bug, right? Fighting has always been around. Water's always been around. So you're a nice answer to Swampert, right? You're a nice answer to one of the main metas in Swampert, and you were spammy enough with your... This Wing Attack got buffed, but you were already spamming with Wing Attack. You had a Stab Weather Ball that was over 2 damage per energy, and you have a Nuke Hurricane that got you over 2 damage per energy too, right? So you had really nice fast move with Wing Attack, and then Weather Ball and Hurricane, which were great moves. So it was a go-to safe swap. And it was a safe swap in the fact that like you were, one of the main matchups was always was Pelipper and Galarian Stunfisk, and you can outpace with your moves to the weather balls, and the weather balls did like 50% and take out Glare and Stunfisk. So Pelipper was used as a safe swap across the board, and it was very, like, as you see, look at the traits: spammy, flexible, dynamic, shield pressure, defensive. Yes, it was all these things. It was slightly more attack heavy at 123 attack, but again, so spam with the wing attack weather ball, and the weather ball again did way more damage than it does now. Flexible, shield pressure was insane. It just felt like those weather balls were coming every 2 seconds on you. So they nerfed it. So they nerfed weather ball, and that had an effect on every single one of these other Pokemon. And I find the one that it hit the most was Politoed, right? Abomasnow still seemed to be pretty strong, because I don't know if it was the shadow or what. Still seemed very strong. Energy Ball for nice coverage. Hippodon wasn't a thing. Aurorus wasn't a thing. Ninetales was a thing, but like Powder Snow is pretty fast charging, and your type, your bulk, you have like kind of sneaky bulk, and shield pressure with your moveset, and like Dazzling Gleam too. So it affected these Pokemon, but not as much. It really affected Politoed, and affected Politoed so much that it went from being a very, very prevalent Pokemon in the Open Great League to not being used at all. And that usage dropped before the meta has even taken shape. So there's two issues now. So you had the weather ball that got nerfed, which made Politoed just inferior. It was already inferior to Swampert, but it could be like comparable. Now it was just way more inferior than Swampert. So you use Swampert instead of Politoed. The second thing is Quagsire and Whiscash showed up. And so now you had other Mudboy options that had Mud Shot like Swampert. Now with the same thing, like a better ground move, and now like a better, I guess you can both use Scald, but like a better water move too. So now you have 3 water Pokemon that are water ground, which have more resistances and less weaknesses than you, with good stat products coming in. So there's no room for Politoed. And the meta change with all these XL Pokemon just made it even worse. So here's the one shield, even energy, even shield scenario, 15 and 25 record. And your wins here, like, it's not even like first of all, it's like 10 losses below 500, which is terrible. Your average is 443, but even your wins, like your hardest win here is 783, right? And that's the thing, like, I'd rather have a Mudboy that resists the smackdown as opposed to just a water which is neutral. So yes, you're going to do fine against like hitting double super effective with Earthquake or super effective with the water against Bastiodon, sure. And there's some things you beat, but even like some of these wins, like Talonflame, you're only winning it at a 600 level. Being a pure water does help you against the Mudboys, so against Swampert and Whiscash, because you can hit for neutral with Weather Ball, and the Scalds and Hydro Cannon are resisted, so they need to land Mud Bombs, Earthquakes. It's not bad from that perspective, but like now it's just like outbulked by pretty much everything in this range. Umbreon, Azumarill, Sableye, Mandibuzz, and then like Registeel has a super effective. Annihilate is just going to outbulk you. Vigoroth's going to outspam you. Cresselia has a grass move. Medi's too bulky. Lickitung's too bulky and has grass move. And then you get into the stuff that actually resists you, like Dragon Flyer resists all your moveset. Pelipper resists all your moveset. Chargebuck is super effective. Trevenant you resist all your moveset. And Venusaur and Shadowvec are grass. So you have no play. You have no play in this meta. Even your big wins are not big. They're like mediocre wins that could be bigger wins with other Pokemon without having the downfall of all these losses here. And there's way too many losses against the main meta. So that was the main problem with Politoed. It was super good. It got nerfed, and it can't make its way back, essentially. And I don't think it will. How do you get back with it? Again, you either rebuff Weather Ball, which I think you can. Like I said, there are other Pokemon, like Pelipper did get the wing attack buff. So wing attack buff with the Weather Ball would make Pelipper really, really strong again. So when you went for the direct attack on Pelipper and you're now going to rebuff it back up, they may, like, it would help Abomasnow, it would help Hippowdon with the Weather Ball, it would help a bunch of these other Pokemon. If you want to change up the meta, you can buff it again. But unfortunately, unless you get like a second, the problem is it's pure water, right? And that's where it struggles. Even if you buff Weather Ball, this is the shadow version, so sorry, that's why the numbers are so high. Even if you buff Weather Ball again, that would help. But your secondary move is still where you suck compared to the other one, because you don't get the same type of attack bonus on Ice Beam or Earthquake. And this is where your single typing of water comes in to hurt you. So unless you get like access to a, like, Earthquake's a good move. Earthquake is a very good charge move, but it's better on Pokemon that have the same type ground typing on you, but you do not have that. So I don't think, unless the meta significantly changes, but again, the meta is already, how is the meta going to change more to help this water Pokemon without affecting your other already better water Pokemon, right? The Great League meta is water. We know this. It's been water for like since season 1. You can argue since season 1, since Swampert and Azumarill were the key. At least there was more balance in season 1. Now it's like, it went from like, oh yeah, there's like very strong water Pokemon, to even more strong water Pokemon in Pelipper and Politoed, to, oh, even more with Lantern and Walrein, to now it's just like, look at this list. Like, look at this list of water Pokemon in the top 30. It's way too much. So you can't make, there's realistically no way to make water typings better in this meta, like Politoed better from a water type perspective, without making these already dominant Pokemon even more dominant. Because like the only way to kind of tackle all this is if you add some like more grass, more. But even electric, a lot of these are mud boys. So like they only have the one. That's the thing. They only have the one weakness in grass. And if you bring in other Pokemon that deal with these, that deals with like stuff that resists ground, it still limits you, right? Because your fast move is Mud Shot and your charge move is Earthquake. So I don't see an avenue where Politoed gets back into the win column. I don't see a way it gets. It's still decent, right? Shadow is ranked 90, so 15-25 record with the non-shadow, 14-27 with the shadow. Okay, maybe if we maximize stat products, it'll get a bit better. Because right now, last time I checked, 14 is less than 15, 16-25. Okay, so when you maximize stat products, 16, so one better. But even there, right? And your same thing. Your strong wins are even maybe a little less. With some of these, like Talonflame is actually close to even, right? So I can't see a path to usefulness. The only path to usefulness is a remix cup or something that bans maybe electric and ground. If Quagsire, Swampert, Lantern, Whiscash are all banned, then maybe, but like Poliwrath too, you'd have to also like ban Fighter, because you would at this point use Poliwrath over Politoed. You would also have to ban Fighter. Like, it would have to be a very specific situation to make this relevant again. So maybe in limited cups you can use it. Limited tournaments, like show 6 pick 3 tournaments that have like limited typings, is probably the only way it is useful right now. Otherwise, there's an abundance of other water Pokemon that you would use ahead of this. So that is the history of Politoed and how it was a once very, very strong Pokemon turned obsolete by the Weather Ball buff, the Weather Ball nerf, and then just the rise of all these other water and access to all these other water and ground mud boys type Pokemon. So that is it. Maybe I'll put another one out tomorrow, because these are fun to do and fun to look back. Let me know in the comments below what Pokemon you want moving forward. Someone requested Politoed. I thought it was a good one because, again, there was a history of Politoed in the Great League. So yeah, let me know any other Pokemon you want me to cover. And that is it. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a good one.